Capital punishment is a legal penalty in South Korea. As of December 2012, there were at least 60 people on death row in South Korea. The method of execution is hanging. However, there has been an informal moratorium on execution since President Kim Dae-jung took office in 1998. There have been no executions in the country since December 1997. The death penalty may be imposed for a wide range of criminal and political offenses under the Criminal Code, the Military Penal Code, the National Security Law and several other laws. In current practice, most death sentences are imposed for crimes involving murder. The last execution for a political offense was in 1982. Since then, death sentences may be imposed by ordinary district courts or by military courts. The law requires that all death sentences be reviewed by a higher court, and in practice most sentences are reviewed twice, by a high court and by the Supreme Court. Retrials require the production of substantial new evidence and are consequently rare. The order to carry out a death sentence must be signed by the Minister of Justice and carried out within the following 5 days. This order must be given within 6 months of the judgment becoming final. No public announcement of forthcoming executions is made and they are not carried out in public. Execution usually takes place in Seoul, Daegu or Gwangju prisons and is carried out by hanging. Prisoners under sentence of death are handcuffed throughout their imprisonment. They live under constant fear, never knowing when the order to execute will be carried out. A bill abolishing the death penalty was introduced to Parliament in 2015 but failed to pass. While South Korea has ratified the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in 1990, it has yet to ratify its second optional protocol aiming at the abolition of the death penalty. Since South Korea was established as a modern republic in 1945, the country has executed a total of 920 people, either by hanging or firing squad, official data showed. However, another set of court data puts the number of total executions at nearly 1,300. Including those tried by the military court and executed during the 1950–53 Korea War. Those sentenced in the criminal court were subject to hanging, while death sentences handed down in the military court were carried out by a firing squad. The practice of sentencing a criminal to death, but not carrying out the execution began during the administration of former President Kim Dae-jung, which began in 1998. A longtime dissident leader and once death row inmate himself under the military dictatorship of Chun Doo-hwan in the 1980s. Kim made the abolition of capital punishment one of his presidential campaign pledges. Korea has 59 individuals on death row, all of whom have been convicted of murder. They include serial killers like Kang Ho-sun, convicted for the deaths of 10 women, and Yoo Young-chul, who was convicted for the deaths of 20 people. A total of 209 people have lost their lives to the hands of the 59 death row inmates. A sentence of capital punishment that permanently isolates the defendant from society is an inevitable choice, stated the Seoul High Court in its 2009 ruling on Kang's case in 2009. With no executions being carried out, the number of death sentences has declined over the years. Discrimination against women as they pertain to the death penalty in the Republic of Korea. Although South Korea is abolitionist in practice, the country has not formally abolished the death penalty, so women remain at risk of being sentenced to death. Kim Sonya was one of the women executed in South Korea. Kim Sonya was born on December 11, 1939 in Rinpon named-do. Kim was a housewife who lived in Sindang-dong, a dong in Seoul's Yeong district, along with her 3 sons. Between October 1986 and August 1988, she poisoned 6 people, 5 of them fatally, using beverages laced with potassium cyanide. The history of women who killed with poison is a long and winding one. Poison was often the method of choice for females because it was less violent and required no physical strength, like, say, a garroting or stabbing. Fortunately for these femme fatales, poison was cheap, easy to get, and administer, especially to unsuspecting victims. Kim Sonia, unnoticed, started her crime spree. On October 31, 1986, Kim Sonia asked 49-year-old Kim Ji-Hye Hwan, her longtime friend, who also lived in Sindang-dong, to go to the bathroom together. Not long after, Ji-Hye Hwan fell down the stairs after drinking a cyanide-laced beverage. Kim Ji-Hye Hwan was transferred to a nearby hospital, but died suffering from severe cramps and breathing difficulties. Her necklace and ring had been stolen, but police found no evidence connecting Kim Sonia to the crime. Kim Sonia got away with murder, and she thought she was invisible. Kim Sonia continues her killings. On April 4, 1987, Kim asked 50-year-old Jean Sunya, a creditor who lived in Sindang-dong, if they could ride the bus together so she could get some money in Yeongdeungpo. Kim Sonia borrowed 7 million won from Jean Sunya, and the two women then boarded a bus. While riding on the bus, Kim Sonia gave Jean Sunya a drink. Jean started complaining that her drink had been poisoned with something, and fell from her seat. She was taken to a nearby hospital, but soon after died. Kim Sonia was never charged with the murder of 50-year-old Jean Sunya, even though they were together when Jean Sunya died. Kim Sonia became confident and decided to continue her killing spree. On February 10, 1988, Kim Sonia suggested to 46-year-old Kim Sunya, another creditor based in Sindang-dong, that they go to a coffee shop together so Sunya could receive money from a debtor. Kim Sonia had borrowed 1.2 million won from Sunya some time before, and agreed to go with her. Both waited for the debtor to come out, but after he didn't show up, they decided to leave. Sunya then drank a poisoned jewel mucha, which caused her to vomit on the way home in the taxi. Kim Sonia said that Sunya would get better if she had more of the healthy drink, but suggested that they get out of the taxi first. Sunya, already suspicious of her behavior, ignored her suggestion, which saved her life. Kim later repaid her, and even visited her house to ask if she was all right. This time Kim Sonia turned to her own family members. On March 27, 1988, Kim took the intercity bus together with her father, 73-year-old Kim Jong-chun, who was returning home from visiting some relatives. She gave her father a poisoned beverage, and he soon fainted on the bus due to the cyanide. Jong-chun was taken to a nearby hospital, where Kim Jong-chun was pronounced dead. Another family member of Kim Sonia became one of her victims again. On April 29, 1988, Kim handed a poisoned drink to her 46-year-old younger sister while they were waiting at the Hwangdong bus stop. Like the previous victims, Kim had borrowed 10 million won from her sister. The younger Kim fell down on the city bus due to the poisoning, was taken to a nearby hospital by a fellow passenger, but succumbed to the cyanide shortly after. Kim Sonia, who had stolen her handbag and jewelry, managed to run away while her sister was carried off from the bus. Her last victim was her 46-year-old cousin, Sun Si-won. Kim Sonia proceeded to borrow 484 million won, ostensibly for a deposit required to buy a house, and then gave her cousin a poisoned drink. Si-won was taken to the hospital, and subsequently died. All these incidents brought Kim Sonia to the attention of the police. Kim Sonia was arrested on September 2, 1988. The bodies were exhumed. The police had carried out autopsies on 4 people who died under suspicious circumstances. finding citric acid in 3 of the bodies. Kim was living in an old Japanese house at the time of the crime. A police officer, while searching through her home, found a small hole in a newspaper while looking at the toilet in the restroom. The policeman unpacked the newspaper and found a clump of cyanide, which Kim had used for the crimes. Sentenced to death by the Supreme Court in 1989. On December 30, 1997, she was executed by hanging at the Daejeon prison. On the day of her execution, 22 other violent criminals were also executed in South Korea. Kim Sonya was 58 years at the time of her execution. Thank you for watching Death Row.